Going. This is part 2 of our Genesis study. We left off at the end of verse 5. We're going to start here at verse 6, chapter 1. God had created light, so there was no longer darkness, but the earth was still void and without form. What we do know is that there were waters, which means there's more than one, and we're going to find out that there's actually more than 4 because of what gets stated here in a second. But there's waters. Well, there's a minimum of 4. There were waters, and the Spirit of God's face shined upon them. So here we go. We're going to start with day 2, starting in verse 6. It says, "And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." So in order for it to divide waters from waters, there had to be multiple waters on each set of separations. So there's minimum of 4 different sets of waters, but I'm sure there's a lot more than that. But this is just to give you an understanding. But the question is, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. So the firmament in the midst of the waters, I had to try to understand this. First of all, firmament, if you look back at the Hebrew word, I can't remember what it is, but the Hebrew word, when I looked it up for what firmament was, it basically means an expanse. And for us, an expanse is like a big, huge space, right? And space is a great word to use. The question is, where was space, or the space? Was it all throughout here, separating the waters from the waters, so there's just space everywhere? Right? I'm going to tell you no. And I can explain that to you here in a second just by reading the scripture, because, like I've said before, the answer is in the scripture. And it's important when it comes to big terms or important words like firmament, that we just go ahead and we look it up to see what the Hebrew word was for it, so that we can understand better what it means. Because a lot of times, like I used to make the mistake, every once in a while I'd hear the term firmament and I would assume that firm meant, firm, strong, a hard space, right? Firmament. And I automatically assumed like a firm piece of ground, like a firm foundation, a firmament. And I've misused the word on several occasions because my mind automatically does it, even though I know what it means. So now, let's continue on real quick, and I'll explain why it wasn't like that. So it said, "And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so." So what this means is at some point, at some angle, some glance, there is a linear form of the firmament where God has divided the waters from above from the waters below. The waters above the firmament, the waters below the firmament. So this is kind of neat. I'm going to show you something here. Right? So there it is. Waters above and waters below. I'm going to erase this real quick because I need more space. I need to basically zoom in for you guys to see this. Right? So remember that picture, the firmament in between the waters. So now what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in. Here's the firmament. Right? This is the firmament that God created. The wide open space, the expanse. And there's waters above, waters below. There's waters. And God called the firmament heaven. This is heaven. This is the heaven. God called this heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. So that's the end of the second day. Third day comes around, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. What? Now we're getting into the formation of the earth. God says, let the waters from below the firmament, all of these waters, to be gathered into one place. So it's not going to be one place here. And I'll explain it here in a second because it wouldn't make sense if it was anywhere else. The waters had to have been gathered in one place. Here are the waters. And then God said, oh, let the land show. And I'm going to do a horrible job of creating our globe. Right? Let the dry land show and appear. Right? And it was so. And God called the dry land earth. And the gathering together of the waters called he seas. God saw that it was good. So we have the seas, we have the earth. Oh, wait. There's our planet. In the midst of the heavens. In the expanse. Alright? God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass. Where's my green? Oh, up there. Let's put some grass on the earth, you guys. You can't have earth without some grass there. Oh, yeah. Look at that pretty earth. Woo! Alright. So, there's a pretty earth. An herb yielding seed and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. Day 3. And this is what we've got. Still no sun, no moon, and no stars. That's the end of day 3. And that's what we got. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Now God created lights. But wait a minute. Wait a minute. God already created light on the first day. There was no light in the expanse. So in the firmament, there was no light. What happened to the light when God put the firmament in? My assumption, and this is just my assumption, is that the light, I wish I had a yellow marker. We got orange up here. This doesn't show up very well, but I'll try to use it. That the light is here. I'll explain why here in a second. Actually, I'll explain it now. The waters are still there. God separated these waters from these waters. Why? Ask yourself that question. Why did he separate them? And how come this isn't discussed anymore? At least not as waters. What is water? Water is life. The only thing that was there was water. The only thing describable in the beginning was water. And God makes life out of it. What do you think that water is? Think about it. Read through the scripture and ask yourself these questions as you read through the scripture. What do you think? I have a good idea. But I'm not going to tell you because I may be wrong. But I have a good idea what these waters are. And I assume that this is where the light is. There's no light here because if there was light, God wouldn't have to put light in. Right? God wouldn't have a constant light here. Right? So let's continue. Where are we at? And God said, here we go. And God made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day. Come back here, orange pen. The greater light. It rules the day. Sun rays. That's the greater light. To rule the days. Sorry for my horrible illustration here, but I hope it helps you guys out. Alright? And then we have the lesser light to rule the night. It's the Earth's the moon. And I don't even know if that's even how they're placed. I don't really, couldn't tell you. We're going to make it a grayish blue color. There's the moon. Alright. Almost lost my place. I need my placeholder. And God set them in the